Are you studying for upcoming NPPE exam and looking for support? I made this video series to help you prepare for the exam based on my own experience studying for the NPPE exam. Most of the information that's covered in this video is based on the two recommended textbooks that you should read to prepare for the NPPE exam. The first textbook is Canadian Professional Engineering and Geoscience Practice and Ethics, 6th edition. The second textbook is Practical Law of Architecture, Engineering, and Geoscience, 2nd Canadian edition. The National Professional Practice Exam is a 2.5-hour closed book online exam on ethics, professional practice, engineering law, and professional liability. Passing this exam is part of the licensing requirement for engineers or geoscientists for most Canadian provinces and territories. The best way to prepare for the NPPE exam is to cover the material in the National Professional Practice Exam syllabus. This video series is organized by section of the NPPE syllabus. In this first video, we're going to cover the key ideas in the NPPE syllabus section 1, Professionalism. Before we begin, a message from our sponsor. This video is sponsored by the NPPE practice exam at npppracticeexam.com. npppracticeexam.com allows you to practice taking the NPPE exam in a simulated situation before doing the real thing. There are 4 test sets to pick from, with over 400 questions to practice off a reasonable price. If you click on the link below and apply a coupon code, you can get 20% off of their unlimited package. Section 1.1, Definition and Interpretation of Professionalism and Professional Status. As you can see on the screen right now, there is a number of bulletins under section 1.1. And they're not necessarily in a sequential or logical order. So what I did is to reorganize the bulletins into 3 separate categories for easier understanding. The first category is advanced skills, which covers have advanced technical knowledge and skills that the public take on trust, undergo long and intense preparation, require continued study and development. Professionals spend concentrated effort to develop and maintain specialized skills, and this concentrated effort allows a professional to perform at a higher level consistently, regardless of the circumstances. The professional must continue to study and develop in order to maintain their advanced skills. For example, Michael Jordan, one of the greatest professional basketball players, was able to make seemingly impossible shots under extreme stress. This is due to his legendary work ethics, continuously upgrading his skill set and professional attitude toward his craft, whereas amateur basketball players who only play part-time would not be able to perform at that level consistently. The second category in section 1.1 is public duty, which covers the bulletin give service to the public and in the public interest. Advanced skills is only one element of professionalism. Although professional basketball players like Michael Jordan have advanced skills, professional athletes do not have professional status like doctors, engineers, or geoscientists. One of the reasons is that professionals give service to the public in the public interest. Professionals perform services that can impact the general public and the environment. Therefore, professionals have a duty of care to the public and the environment. He or she has an obligation to ensure their actions are unlikely to cause harm and act with ordinary competence as expected from a professional. Note that professionals are expected to provide a higher level of care than ordinary citizens because of their advanced knowledges. Therefore, professionals are expected to put public interests ahead of all other interests including self-interest when performing professional services. A professional athlete doesn't have to put public interest ahead of self-interest. The result of a basketball game doesn't negatively impact the general public or the environment. Therefore, a professional basketball player doesn't owe a duty of care to the public, while professionals should only take on work that they're competent in. A professional basketball player doesn't have to do that, and they can take on any work they like, whether or not they're competent in it or not. The last category under Section 1.1 is self-regulating association and professional status as a licensed member. This category covers belong to self-governing organizations that regulate the profession to maintain standards. Right to self-regulate is earned, requires participation of members to fulfill self-regulating function, are bound by distinct ethical codes. Because professionals have advanced skills and perform service that can impact the general public or the environment, it must be regulated to ensure standard. Often the governments allow professionals to form associations to self-regulate because the professionals are in the best position to maintain standard due to their advanced skills and knowledges. However, this requires a level of trust that a professional associate must not abuse. A professional practitioner must be licensed by the association before allowed to provide service to the public, and he or she is bounded by a distinct ethical code set by the association. The ethical code describes a professional's duty to the public, employer, clients, subordinates, colleagues, the professional, and oneself. The term self-regulating means that the licensed member elect most of the association's council. Therefore, the association requires the participation of its members to fulfill self-regulating function. Section 1.2. The role and responsibilities of professionals in society. Skilled and regulated practice. Engineering and geoscience professions require advanced skills, give service to the public in the public interest, and are regulated by self-governing association. Therefore, engineers and geoscientists meet all the requirements of professionalism and professional practice. For professional engineers and geoscientists, the advanced skills that is required to provide professional service is gained by 1. Obtaining an engineering or geoscience degree in university. Non-Canadian degrees are assessed separately. 2. Passing the professional exam to demonstrate understanding of ethics and laws in regarding to professional practice. 3. Gaining practice engineering and geoscience experience under professional, applying theory and application, developing alternative solutions, selecting and executing the best solutions. 4 years of experience is required by all associations except Quebec, which requires 3. At least 1 year of experience must be working under a professional. The experience have to be Canadian experience so that the professional can get exposure to local work, environment, practice, and standards. Bulletin 2. Personal accountability and responsibility for own professional practice. Professionals must be responsible for their own professional practice by ensuring quality of professional services. They must accept legal and ethical responsibilities for their own work and hold the public interest as paramount. The professional must follow the appropriate code and standards, including the association's code of ethics. They must also manage risk, give reasonable duty of care, and exercise due diligence. They must also keep their skills and knowledge current. This can be done through the Continued Professional Development Program, which is mandatory by most Canadian associations. Bulletin 3. Accountable for the professional practice of those under their supervision. Although most professional engineers and geoscientists are not managers, they're often called upon to act in a supervising role as a senior technical lead or expert, which requires the professional to supervise the work of others and seal or sign off on a subordinate's work. The professional should only sign off on a subordinate's work if 1. Supervising professionals must meet the technical requirement to review and seal documents prepared by the subordinate. Number 2. The supervisor must be involved with the project through supervised field reviews, be responsible for engineering decisions, provide appropriate supervision given the experience level of the subordinate. A documented process should be in place to allow the professional on record to review, approve, and take responsibility of work done by direct reports. It is important for a supervising professional to allow professional development of subordinates, such as EITs, to gain relevant professional experience to progress into a professional. Bulletin 4. Dependence on the confidence of stakeholders, including employers, clients, authorities, public. The continued success of the profession depends on the confidence of the stakeholder, including employers, clients, authority, and the public. The professional must understand and perform the duty owed to the stakeholder, thereby keeping this confidence. The duties to the stakeholders are outlined in the Code of Ethics. Duty to the employers or the clients include act fairly and loyally, keep business confidential, disclose any conflict of interest. Duty to the authorities, report any illegal or unethical engineering decisions or practice by engineers or other professionals to the authorities or associations. Follow association code, bylaw, and regulation, as well as relevant laws, standards, and codes to satisfy their authority. Duty to the public is the most important duty for professionals. The professional is obligated to protect the safety, health, and welfare of anyone affected by their work by following safety and environmental regulations. Duty to fellow workers. Treat with courtesy and goodwill. Do not let personal conflict interfere with professional relationships. Inform fellow professionals whenever their work is reviewed by you. Duty to the profession. Maintain dignity and prestige of the profession. Avoid unprofessional, dishonorable, or disgraceful conduct. Duty to employees and subordinates. Recognize the rights of others and offer professional development for subordinates. Duty to oneself. Professionals should insist on adequate payment, satisfactory work environment, rights awarded under the Charter of Rights and Freedom, duty to maintain personal competence by keeping his or her professional skills current and up to date. Bulletin 5. Justify and uphold trust from the stakeholders. Professional must not act in a way that will lose the trust of the stakeholders, including insider trading, secret commission, abusing confidential information, negligence, or incompetence. Bulletin 6. Protection of the public. Definition of the public in different circumstances: general public, client, employer, fellow workers. The professional have a clear duty to protect their employer, clients, and fellow workers. However, the definition of the public is broader. The public includes anyone that can be negatively impacted by the practitioner's professional decisions. This could be a user of the final product that you produced, or someone that lives close to a factory that you designed. Definition of protection. Protection can include physical safety, physical protection, physical failure, environmental protection, and economic safety. A professional is not only obligated to protect the public from physical harm, for example, physical safety, physical protection from physical failures, but the professional is also obligated to protect the public from environmental harm like oil spills or water contaminations. Another example of non-physical harm is economic safety. For example, if an engineer designed a crypto wallet that's not secure, making it easy for hackers to steal cryptocurrency in the wallet, this could lead to a user losing their entire saving and causing economic harm to them. Now, a message from our sponsor. This video is sponsored by the NPPE practice exam at npppracticeexam.com. npppracticeexam.com allow you to practice taking the NPPE exam in a simulated situation before doing the real thing. There are 4 test sets to pick from, with over 400 questions to practice at a reasonable price. If you click on the link below and apply a coupon code, you can get 20% off of their unlimited package. Section 1.3, Engineering and Geoscience Professions in Canada, Definition and Scopes of Practice. Bulletin 1, Provincial and Territorial Associations. Authority to license and self-regulate the professions, authority to discipline and enforce, jurisdiction and independence between associations. The provincial and territorial governments regulate engineering and geoscience. Every province and territories have passed a law or act that established engineering and geoscience as a profession, with the exception of Yukon and Prince Edward Island, where geoscience is not regulated. Each act, in turn, creates an association of professional engineers and/or geoscientists. In Quebec, this association is called the Orders. The government delegates a responsibility for implementing the acts to the association. The association develops regulation, bylaws, code of ethics, all derive their authority from the act. Regulations are rules that clarifies the act or define procedures such as admission, professional conduct, and disciplinary procedures. Bylaws are rules for running the association itself and typically include election procedures, financial matters, committee requirement, and meetings. The Code of Ethics is a set of rules of personal conduct for all members. Every engineer and geoscientist needs to be familiar with the relevant code and obey it. Those associations are licensing body or regulators that set and enforce standards of practice in engineering and geoscience. To practice engineering or geoscience, you must obtain a license from the association in your province or territory. The associations or orders in Quebec set the qualification for admission into the profession. The association determines the standard of professional practice and discipline members who fail to meet those standards. The association also prevents the misuse of title and prosecute illegal practice by unqualified individuals. Association responds to complaints from the public and resolve disputes among licensed professionals when requested. The association has authority to discipline and enforce. The association enforces the act by prosecuting unlicensed people who practice unlawfully. This includes practicing professional engineering or geoscience without a license, or using a term or title and giving the impression the person is licensed, or using a seal to give the belief the person is licensed. The association disciplines licensed engineer and geoscientists who are guilty of professional misconduct, negligence, or incompetence. Professional misconduct can include breach of the code of ethics. Incompetence could include physical or mental incapacity. If practitioner is convicted of a serious offense, they can be disciplined by the association, on top of any penalties from the criminal conviction. The association's disciplinary process includes 4 steps. Step number 1 is gathering evidence. Step number 2 is investigation and review of the complaint. Step number 3 is discipline hearing. Step number 4 is disciplinary penalties. As a side note, the investigative committee, the prosecutor, and the discipline committee judgment panel are independent. Some associations have a fees mediation committee with the power to mediate and arbitrate fee disputes between members and their clients. A few associations offer a voluntary ADR process to resolve disputes where professionalism and contractual matter overlap. The ADR stands for Alternative Dispute Resolution. Normally, the allegation of professional misconduct are handled by the complaints process mentioned earlier. However, contractual disputes that involve minor breach of code of ethics are encouraged to go through the ADR process. The ADR process is a confidential, mediated negotiation that may lead to a solution that is acceptable for all parties involved. If during the mediation process there are serious evidence of professional misconduct, then the ADR process stops and then a formal complaint is lodged in order to protect the public interest. Although associations are independent and have only jurisdiction within their own province or territory, the Agreement on Internal Trade, a federal law which allows licensed professionals in good standing to be licensed easily in other jurisdictions, means that there is a lot of mobility for professionals to work in different provinces in Canada. Section 1.3, Bulletin 2, Right to Title and Exclusive Scope of Practice. To practice engineering or geoscience in Canada, you must obtain a license from the association in your province or territory. The right to title means you can only use the title professional engineer or professional geoscientist according to the term of the association. Basically, you can only use the professional title if you're licensed, and if you use the title without a license, you will be prosecuted by the association. Scope of practice is action and process a professional is allowed to undertake according to the term of their professional license. Basically, the limits of the professional service that can be provided based on the professional license. By having a license, you can provide more services to a client than someone that doesn't have a license. For example, stamping and proving designs. A professional is responsible to understand the limit, his or her own ability, and practice within the limits of their ability. Otherwise, they risk being negligent. Professionals working outside of their province of license need to obtain the license and permits for the province they're currently working at, or work with a company that has it. Section 1.3, Bulletin 3, Definition of Engineering. The full definition from the Engineering and Geoscience Practice and Ethics textbook is the following. The practice of engineering means any act of planning, designing, composing, evaluating, advising, reporting, directing, or supervising, or managing any of the foregoing that requires application of engineering principle, and that concerns the safeguarding of life, health, property, economic interests, and the public welfare of the environment. What that basically says is that any activity that requires application of engineering principle and concerns the safeguarding of public welfare is covered under the definition of engineering. And the main differences between engineering and science is there's an emphasis on useful application for engineering. So basically, engineers applying scientific theory into useful application, whereas scientists are more interested in discovering or researching and looking for new knowledges that may not necessarily have a practical application. Section 1.3, Bulletin 4, Definition of Geoscience. The full definition in the Ethics and Practice textbook is the following: reporting, advising, evaluating, interpreting, processing geoscientific surveying, exploring, classifying, reserve, or examining related to any activity below. A, that relates to the earth science or the environment. B, that is aimed at the discovery or development of oil, natural gas, coal, metallic or non-metallic minerals, precious stones, other natural resources, or water, or that is aimed at the investigation of the surface or subsurface condition of the earth. C, that requires in that reporting, advising, evaluating, interpreting, processing geoscientific survey, exploring, classifying reserves, or examining the professional application of the principle of mathematics, chemistry, physics, or biology through the application of the principle of geoscience, or teaching geoscience at a university. Okay, that was a mouthful for sure. So basically what it says is that geoscience is gathering and application of knowledge regarding earth science or the environment that concerns interests of the public or natural resource, water, safety, and environment. So that's basically all you have to know. Section 1.3, Bulletin 5, Professional seals. So a seal is included with a license, and the seal must be used responsibly. It is a mark of reliance, not a guarantee. So who should seal? Who should use a seal? The practitioner or practitioners who are taking professional responsibility for the work must seal the documents. Either a professional who prepared or is taking responsibility for a document needs to seal. This means if a junior staff member prepared a document and the junior staff is working under a responsible professional, then the responsible professional has to be familiar with the content of the document before taking responsibility but sealing the document. When two or more professionals collaborate on different aspects of a project, both professionals have to apply their seals and specify area of responsibilities next to the seal. Engineering documents cannot be signed by a proxy, that is, by other person signing on behalf of the individual identified on the seal. The responsible professional is not relieved of liability when they fail to seal the final document. In fact, it is considered a violation of the Act. What should a professional seal and not to seal? Only documents containing technical information, complete for the intended purpose, and relied upon by others should be sealed. Documents with no technical information should not be sealed. Note that there is an emphasis on final document. Draft documents should not be sealed. The professional seal should not be used as a notary signature. How should a professional seal a document? A professional must sign and date and seal, with a signature and date beside the seal. The professional can choose to use either a digital or physical seal to seal the final document. Section 1.3, Bulletin 6, Engineers Canada and Geoscientists Canada, Association of Associations, non-regulatory, create standards and guidelines, accreditation roles. Engineers Canada and Geoscientists Canada are two federations of province and territory association across Canada of their respective professions. They're known as Association of the Associations. Both associations promote consistency in licensing and regulation across different associations by developing non-binding policies, guidelines, and position statement. Note that the policies and guidelines produced by those associations are non-regulatory, therefore non-binding. Both associations evaluate and provide accreditation to undergraduate programs across Canada. There are two very important committees for Engineering Canada. The CEAB, Canadian Engineering's Accreditation Board, is entrusted with evaluating undergraduate engineering programs offered at Canadian University and provides accreditation. The second committee is the CEQB, Canadian Engineering Qualification Board. They're entrusted for developing national guidelines to promote consistent licensing, registration, and other regulation across Canada. They also maintain the examination syllabus used for evaluating qualification of applicants with non-accredited engineering degrees. Now a message from our sponsor. This video is sponsored by the NPPE practice exam at npppracticeexam.com. npppracticeexam.com allow you to practice taking the NPPE exam in a simulated situation before doing the real thing. There are 4 test sets to pick from, with over 400 questions to practice off a reasonable price. If you click on the link below and applies a coupon code, you can get 20% off of their unlimited package. Section 1.3, Bulletin 7, Brief Histories. In 1887, the Canadian Society of Social Engineers began to place the effort to give engineers the same professional status as lawyers and doctors through regulating engineering as a profession. During this time, engineers entered the profession after a period of apprenticeship, and few were university graduates. Due to lack of regulations and standards, there were many instances of incompetence, like the collapse during the construction of Quebec Bridge. This demonstrated the need to regulate the profession. It was not until 1920 when all provinces except Ontario, Saskatchewan, and Prince Edward Island passed licensing laws. At the time, there were 2 different types of licensing law, closed versus open. The laws in BC, Manitoba, Quebec, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia were closed, meaning the engineers are required to have license to practice and to the title of professional engineer. However, in Alberta and Ontario, the laws were open, meaning licensing was voluntary. Anyone can practice engineering, but only members with license have right to title. Both provinces amended its act to close type by 1937. By 1955, all provinces and territories in Canada had licensing laws to regulate the profession of engineer. Geoscience licensing dates back to 1842, when Geoscience of Canada was established. The first association to license geoscientists was IPEGA in 1955. Tragically, a number of scandals precipitated the creation of license laws across Canada, like Briac's fraud and the Walkerton tragedy. Ontario, Quebec, and Nova Scotia began to regulate geoscience as a profession by by 2002. Currently, all provinces and territories licensed geoscientists except PEI and Yukon. Section 1.3, Bulletin 9, the Iron and Earth Ring. The Iron Ring for engineers and Earth Ring for geoscientists identifies practitioners who have taken the obligation oath voluntarily in a ring ceremony. The obligation oath and the code of ethics serve the same purpose, to maintain high standard in professional works. The obligation is voluntary, but the code of ethics is enforced by the association. The obligation oath is not a prerequisite or condition for professional membership, and is not a proof of graduation from university. The iron and earth ring should be worn on the pinky finger of the practitioner. Section 1.4, the value of engineering and geoscience professions to society. The foundation of a developed economy is its ability to discover and utilize its resources, research and discover advanced technologies, apply those advanced technology to different resources and produce useful product and services, then trade those goods and services with others. Both engineers and geoscientists are an integral part of this value chain. The bulletins in section 1.4 can really be subdivided into 3 different subcategories. Category 1 is research, which covers technology research and development, product research and development, resource research and development, energy research. The basic idea here is that both engineers and geoscientists are heavily involved in the process of innovating for new ideas, to inventing new technologies, process, and products through research. Category 2 is application of technology, and this covers technology application, infrastructure development, energy research, development, production and generation, manufacturing, and processing. This basically goes back to the definition of engineering and geoscientists, where both profession takes advanced technology and apply them to useful applications where the interest of public and environment is concerned. So the application of technology can have a very wide field, including, advanced technologies like machine learnings and building useful machine learning models to benefit society, like healthcare, etc. Developing infrastructures like roads, airports, high-speed trains, and it could cover energy resource development, production, and generation, like designing and building high-voltage transmission lines, distribution network grid, or manufacturing and processing will include things like building cars on assembly line, designing and manufacturing advanced computer chips. The last category is the impact on society, economic benefits of work and projects. So obviously good engineering and geoscientist work can bring economic benefits to society. For example, advanced transportation like advanced aviation, highways, the railway system, advance in ocean navigation can bring trade and tourism to area where it wasn't possible before, which stimulates the economy and bring economic benefits to those areas. Energy extraction, refinery, and delivery from the place of extraction to where it's most needed allows the rapid industrialization of the global economy. Technology industry like chip manufacturers requires advanced skills for material and design that only engineers and geoscientists have. Limits and sustainability. The professional must be aware of the limits of current technology and methods to implement safe design. The professional must understand the impact of tolerance on the function and safety of the design, as well as consider how the final product will be repaired, maintained, and recycled. Sustainability. The professional must understand the difference between sustainability versus environmental compliance. Compliance with the environmental law is needed, but sustainability means going beyond simple compliance, since environmental regulation can very often be set at a very low bar to ensure everyone can comply. So a professional should aim to exceed the bare minimum and consider always minimizing energy use, maximizing recyclable material used, and renewable energy used to produce our product. This concludes the first part of the NPPE preparation YouTube video covering section 1, professionalism. Please let me know if you have any comments or area where I can improve. And if you liked and enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.